Right, folks, we are back. This time we are going to be previewing day one and day two of Cheltenham, and we are absolutely delighted to be joined by Dan. Overall, good to have you on.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. Thank you very much. It's the world's changed a lot since I was on this last year with you guys, but it's good to have some consistency. So thanks for having me back on.
No bother. And Dan, just for new viewers that are about, just give us a quick rundown of yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a National Hunt kind of fanatic, really. I post tips a lot on Twitter. I've been doing a lot of previews for Cheltenham this year. I was in the final of Tipstar, the racing TV competition. So I've done a few things here and there. So hopefully I can provide some useful insight for you guys watching.
Yeah. You're also doing the head-to-head series with Willow. That's getting great attention at the minute.
Yeah, that's a good laugh. I try and go for the big ones. He goes for the short ones, and we try and get a winner between us. So we'll see how that goes at the end of the week.
And quickly, do you have your cat nearby?
I mean, I've got him in a few multiples. I have to say, he's a lovely horse, isn't he? I love him.
Your cat?
Oh, I thought you said, have I got my cash on Envoy? I was like, luckily, no, the cat's not in the room. She's out on the cold recently after her exploits, so trying to keep her at bay.
If I wouldn't like to see your cat jump over them fences.
I don't think she's scopy enough. I think keep her to hurdles. She'll rack up a few on there, but fence is probably a bit too far for her.
Yeah. So we'll get straight into it anyway. We'll start with Supreme, first race of the festival. Alan, what do you fancy?
Lads, I've fancied Ballyadam probably since the market kind of opened in this race. Very impressed with Down Royal at the start of the season, followed up in the Royal Bond. Bit lackluster at Christmas. More like it then again behind Appreciated last time. Looked like he was going to loom up and actually challenge him, but Appreciated kind of grounded out. Is Appreciated, does he deserve to be 9-4 favourite? He's probably shorter in places. I don't think so. I'd be happy to play Ballyadam. And one of the bigger price, the Devil's Coachman for Noel Meade, really impressed me at Nav and beating Visionarian. Looks like they've gotten plenty of experience into this horse, and 16's solid each way play.
Yeah, like I said, Appreciated is there to be beat. Like Ronan McNally said to us there last week, that at the track you could see Appreciated wasn't, I suppose, great, and did give a bit of a glimmer of hope for him with the Real Deal. Obviously now there's word coming out that the Real Deal mightn't even go to Cheltenham. But for me, Messier for Harry Fry won his 3 starts over hurdles. I think he's been super impressive and looks a very good price at 7-1. Dan, yourself, what are you on?
I think a lot of people are lining up to take Appreciate It on. I think at the moment I wouldn't be backing him at 7-4, but the way it's going, I can see him probably being one that bookies are going to lay on the first day. I can see his price probably drifting out, and I think, as you mentioned, people aren't afraid of him anymore, and I think we're going to see a decent field turn out to try and take him on. The Devil's Coachman I like a lot as a horse. I think he's a decent each way play, but I think Appreciate It might drift out to a backable price on the day. And he's not flashy, but he keeps winning. Is he going to get further? Of course he is. But I think he might be just starting to be a bit underestimated by a few people. And if he gets to a decent price, I'll be playing on him.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like, I wouldn't back him now at 7-4, but I do like him for the Supreme. I think just given the route, like he took the same route as Classical Dream and Asterion Furlonge for Wally Mullins as well. Like, albeit his finishing times were slightly slower. But, Wally Mullins, the Supreme Novice, it's not a thing that you want to look past. But as Ryan says, they're talking to Ronan the other day, like, he was favourable enough about the chances of Durandale picking up maybe each way prize money if he turned up on the day. He says he wasn't going to make up the numbers, so at a bigger price you could give him maybe a squeak each way.
Yep. Just going back to Media there, lads. Did win the Tallward by 12 lengths. Were you impressed at all with that? Or?
Yeah, it was impressive on the day. Like, it definitely was. Harry Fry's horses haven't been in great form at the minute. I was seeing a stat on Twitter the other day that could all change closer to the time of the festival. Um, it really is. It's luck of the draw, really, who you pick out of the hat.
I would have liked to
Um,
have seen him in the Betfair Hurdle. Obviously, that was the plan. If it wasn't postponed, we probably would have learnt a bit more about him if he went there. Obviously, saw in glory, won in the end, and kind of I think he's now 12, 10 to 1 for the race. It's good ground. He'd probably have an each way squeak, but we don't quite know with Messier yet. His win in the top was good, as you mentioned. That race can kind of fluctuate from being very good or pretty poor. It kind of tends to be one or the other. I'm not sure really what he beat, but he's an interesting one. I think he's short enough though. Now I think he's fairly found, and yeah, it wouldn't be for me at the moment.
I'll tell you what, if Soaring Glory comes out and wins that, how good of a form will that make for Duthart?
Yeah,
Duthart could be something extra special. Alan, you were keen on Duthart that day around.
Yeah, I was very keen. Yeah, I was keen on Duthart. Just as well on that form of Soaring Glory, I think it ties in well with Brave Man's Game, which we'll talk about later on as well.
Yeah. We'll move on to the Oracle then, boys. 2-horse race, 3-horse race. Would you include All Mankind in between the two of them?
Nah.
No, that answers that. Yeah, for me, Nergaman beats Shishkin easily. I have not jumped on this Shishkin hype train at all. Dean, I don't think you have. Alan, I don't think you have. Dan, have you? Are you all Shishkin?
Wow, I didn't expect to see such unanimous opposition to Shishkin. It's a bold one. I think it's going to be interesting on the day. I think a lot of people are already going to have Shishkin covered in a lot of multiples that would have been on him quite from an early stage. There's not much in his price now. He is what he is. He's a supreme winner. He's a quality horse and has done little wrong to my mind. His times have been good as well. But at the moment, if you were going to push me for one, I'd just have a bet right now as a single. I'd go Energumene as well. He's been ultra impressive. I don't think he's going to need to lead. I think he'll just take a lead from All Mankind. There's a lot to like about him. Obviously, William Bullingdon and Arkle as well is a force to be reckoned with. So if you had to push me at the moment for a bet at the prices on the Arkle, I'd probably side with you boys on Energumene.
Yeah, I just think he's an absolute monster. Like, to win a Grade 1 by 10 lengths with the horses that were in it, the likes of Starfield, Stagey, Franco Laporte, who's down the market a little bit in this Arkle and has every chance really of picking up place money anyway. Yeah, Alan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, same. Look, Energumene takes plenty of beating in this. Just one of the bigger price now. He may not go here. Shishkin stablemate Fusel Raffles. Like, really impressed me this season, won twice at Cheltenham. Look, he ran the champion hurdle last year. He was down the field in that. He is very, very good on his day. Could pick up the pieces. I've seen 20, 25s in places.
Yeah, I'm again Energumene. I wouldn't exactly write Shishkin off because at the end of the day, it reminds me very, very similar to Altior. People kind of, question him all the time, but Altior kept winning. Up against Munn, he came out and done the business. But I think if you're going by races this season so far and chases, Energumene's beat more than he has. So I think that's why people are kind of swaying on the side of Energumene. But I just think he's been classy and his races. And I heard Ruby Wadge talking on the road to Cheltenham, and it wasn't as much as giving tactics away, but they went over the race with he won on footpad and the likes of that. And I was interesting to hear him saying what he was saying because I kind of thought to myself, is Ruby trying to play with Nicky Henderson here and make him think that Energumene's not going to buck out and make the running? But you were saying there, Ryan, about a 2-horse race. Or would you include All Mankind? I would have Franco Laporte over All Mankind. I think he's jumping slightly better. Energumene won that Grade 1 by 10 lengths, but Captain Guinness, I think, would have finished a hell of a lot closer than the other two had he stayed up. And even Henry thought that when we talked to him in our other episode. So it's hard to know, but I think Energumene is a good price at 11-4.
Yeah, like you said there, Frank Laporte, I was very keen on him throughout the year, and you've no doubt yourselves. Was second to Energumene and won a Grade 1 himself, beating Darvish Starfield Stagey again. has an entry into the Marsh as well. I would actually prefer to see him take on Envoy Allen.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, to be fair. I thought Franco de Port would have a decent place chance to the Marsh. And likewise on Captain Guinness, on better ground, he's another one. I think, obviously, All Mankind, I think, will make it somewhat interesting to about 2 out. I think as he fades, we'll get the kind of battle we're looking for. And maybe Captain Guinness is one of those, again, who can get closer to Energamine and fill the frame.
Yeah, I'm just not jumping on the Shishkin train because who has he bet? The best horse he's beat is Gumball in a grade 2. Like,
Well, I did mention that to you the other day, or the last day, like when we were just chatting about ourselves. Like he was rated 12 points clear of anything that he came up against. Like, so he really should be brushing him aside with ease. You know.
and to me,
sorry, Ryan, just one thing there, just a second, just talking just about Shishkin. Like, if you look at last year's Supreme, just how much or how impressed were you with Shishkin in the Supreme last year, considering he got himself out of trouble?
Oh, like I mentioned there a minute ago, you know, he's like Altior. People kind of like to write him off, but you can't write him off, like, because at the end of the day, he's unbeaten.
Yeah, I agree completely with you, Dean. Look, we'll move on from the Oracle because we could talk about Shishkin and Energamine all day long. And we'll move on to the Ultimate. What are you fancying? Dan, we'll start with you.
I've got it down to 3. I think this is, at the moment, it's looking like one of the more competitive handicaps from my perspective anyway. The Irish tend not to do well here, maybe with the amateur jockeys not being allowed in the Kim Muir. That might change this year, but the ones that I'm looking at the moment is I Right. I think he'll run a big race if he lines up here. Has been ultra consistent in big field handicaps thus far. In Britain, he deserves a big one. He keeps going up for placing, and he's probably a bit high in the weights, but he's a prominent racer which suits this, and I think he'll go close. And the other 2 that I like look of are Happy Go Lucky, who is a novice, won at Cheltenham, 4th in the Martin Pipe last season. He fits decent. He has a decent profile for this race, and he's off the same mark as Lieutenant Rocco on 147, who got an entry here after winning a novice over 3 miles, having won pretty well over intermediate troops beforehand. I think he's a really classy horse, is Lieutenant Rocco, but I think connections are looking more long term with him. I'd be a bit surprised if he goes for the Ultimate, and he might even rock up in the Brown Advisory. And in the long term, I think he's a staying chaser to note. But a tough one at the moment. I'd have it between those 3. I think I Right's still 25 to 1. I think that's a fair price at the moment as well.
Al?
Yeah, look, it's very hard to know what will go here. Just looking through some of the entries there in the last couple of days, I noticed Jessica Harrington still has discordantly entered up in the race. Now, I was very, very sweet on this for the Tiestes after ran at Leopardstown at Christmas. Look, it caught the eye, jumping well. Went to the Tiestes, fell unseated, came out the last day unseated again. It's not the perfect profile, but I still think there's a big pot in this horse. It's one to keep a very, very close eye on, maybe for, I don't know, maybe next season, but it'll be interesting to see what he does at Cheltenham if he does go.
Yeah, one that's caught my eye in this is Aso at 16 to 1. I know he's 11 and I know he's entered in right in our chest, but I'd much rather see him go here. Trained by Venetia Williams, ran a decent second last time at Warwick, and look, he was the last one to finish here at Cheltenham a few months back in November. But I think he has a huge race in him, and I think he has an entry into the Grand National, if I'm not mistaken. So I would like to see him go here.
Yeah, just kind of 2 for me as well. Not going to go into grave detail with him, but Ryan, you'll know this is a horse that I've been following, well, definitely this season and towards the back end of last season. This is Ascaria 10 is in there, 8 to 1 favourite or whatever. Won well in Thurles 2 starts ago before chasing home Eclat de Rire of Henry de Bromhead's last time out in a grade 3. So it's no surprise to kind of see her there at the head of the market. The other one I like is another Gordon Elliott one. Fire Class has kind of been tipped up to won his last 2 starts and has been thereabouts. He came kind of clouted through the second last at Leopardstown the last day and kind of knocked the stuffing out of himself and just kind of faded towards the line. Them would be really 2 that I like in there. Ascaria 10's about 8 to 1 or 10 to 1 there now in some places, and Fire Class 25.
We'll move on to Champion Hurdle then, boys. What's going here, Alan? What are you thinking?
Look, you know, this long time, I'm a massive fan of Epatante. I'm still going to go with her this year. Like, she was really impressive in the fight in fifth. I thought she was absolutely electric over her hurdles. She poor in the Christmas hurdle behind Silver Streak. Like, but going in last year's race, like, I know people have knocked it and said it wasn't the greatest renewal of a champion hurdle. She came there, she travelled well. Sharjah came after her. She won the race on her merit. I think if she comes back in the same form as she was last year, I think she takes a lot of beat.
I'm going to completely disagree with you. Silver Streak, I think, is very underrated. Obviously beating Epatante, but before that, in the fight in fifth, got ran out. So that could have been a completely different race had Silver Streak not been ran out. For me, Honeysuckle's going to win this. Look, Henry was fairly keen on her, in fairness, when we spoke to him. Destroyed the Irish champion hurdle field. Absolutely destroyed them. And won the Hatton Grace, which was full to the neck of stairs, and beat them. Well, can't say comfortably because nearly got bet on the line by Ronald Pump. But yeah, look, for me, Honeysuckle is the one to be beaten at 5-2.
Yeah, I'm in agreement, Ryan. Like we talk about Siskin, deserving the credit that he deserves because he's unbeaten. Like, Honeysuckle deserves every bit as much because she's the exact same. She's unbeaten. She's took every test that she's given and she's come out the other end of it really, really well. The scare at Ferry House the last day with Ronald Pump was probably the closest scare they've had with her. But, like, she's just electric. And the £7 allowance, between her and Epatante, definitely have their chance. But, like, I don't know. It's a really tough race, but I think Honeysuckle just takes the beating in this. Like, she's really impressive. She's been to Cheltenham. She's won around Cheltenham. She knows what it takes. That'll count for a lot too. Like.
Yep, Dan.
Yeah, make it 3 for Honeysuckle. I'm finally a believer after last time. I think a lot was made of her jumping not being slick enough over 2 miles as a reason for them not going for the champion hurdle in the first place, and maybe that was the reason they crabbed her. But last time, there was so much to like about her jumping. It was much improved, and in general, she just looked like she'd stepped up a whole nother level. I mean, she's still progressing, obviously unbeaten under rules. There's a lot to like about her, and I think some are going to continue to say that last race was set up for her quite well in terms of the way it was run, and even the mare's hurdle to an extent, the way Rachel Blackmore stuck up the inside. I think people will say that those 2 races, the ride she got kind of won of the race. But I think you get to eventually get to a stage where you stop making those kind of reasons for a horse winning all the time, and maybe you just say that Rachel Blackmore's such a good jockey that she in herself is worth something in a race of this nature as well. She's just such a likeable mare. I think anything giving £7 to her or Epatante is going to be a really tough ask. Goshen obviously came out this week and was very impressive, but he just seems to blow hot and cold, and he's short enough for me. And in fact, the way his price is contracted makes the likes of Honeysuckle and Epatante a much more attractive betting proposition from my perspective.
Yeah, I have not rated Goshen at all. Dean, you know that from previous podcasts, how much stick I got for it as well.
Yeah.
Until that day on the flat, and he did nothing. Where did he come stone last?
I'm the same as you. Like I think it was a bandwagon kind of following that he got for a stage, like but I don't think he deserved to be cut as big as he was because of that victory, like
It
but
was an impressive victory.
Like, as Dan says, it's just pushed the price of Epatante and Honeysuckle out slightly as well, which makes it even more appealing to them or followers of theirs. Like Dan, just a quick one on Bouvier. What would your thoughts be on him?
I mean, there's no one better at getting a champion hurdler ready for the big day than Nicky Henderson, and I think that's why a lot of people on Epatante will be somewhat happy because he's just the man for it. But his comeback run was obviously going to be needed, but it did look a bit laboured. Navajo Pass is a decent horse, but is not top class by any means. He probably likes the better ground, but maybe just age is against him now. Like It would be a great story if he was to come back and do it, but I think maybe too much water's under the bridge for him.
Yeah, I don't think it would be. You could never, as you say, you can never ride a Nicky Henderson horse off because you can get one ready for the champion hurdle. But I wouldn't think he'd be capable of winning it. But he could run into a price at or a place at a big price. That comeback run. I kind of thought, I says to the lads that day, like, Bouvier is probably the lay of the day because he's not going to be out there to win that race. Because first and foremost, they'll give him a run around, see how he is. If he still has his old spark, then they might take their chance and run. If he's not showing at all, pulled up, jumping bad, he'd probably just be retired to Martinstown and see out the rest of his career. Like, so it's interesting to see him still on a bit, see if he goes on the day as well, I suppose.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Alan, I know you know a lot about this horse, much more than I would. James Burley came fairly new and has a hell of a lot of support in the market. Can you walk us through that one?
Yeah, it's coming from France with some very, very decent form. I don't know now, since Sanra has kind of been defected out of the race with Willie Mullins, it seemed to push a lot of attention towards James de Burley. He's gone 33s, 25s, 16s, 14s in places. He is highly enough rated in terms of a champion hurdle that could maybe get him into the places. Can he beat the likes of Epatante, Honeysuckle? I wouldn't think so. For somebody that's looking a big price, I wouldn't put them off backing it. But for a man that wants, I'd say, the winner of the race, I'd say you're probably looking the top two, the two mares. It's going to be between them.
Yep, that's a very fair assessment. If we go on the mares hurdle, Concertista, Henry did say that Manila Melody was very unlucky to pretty much be in the same era as Concertista. Will Concertista have any trouble whatsoever in this race?
Well, that's a tricky question, really, because she's been impressive enough this season, but like as you say, she wouldn't have blown me out of the water with any of her runs. But would I back her at them short odds now? Probably not. Like, you'd be looking at maybe the likes of Roxana. They're like, a past winner of the race. Been there, done that. Got the experience. I think Constantine is short enough. She's good. But is she good enough to do it on the day? Up against past winners at Cheltenham, I'd be happy enough to take her on.
Yeah, I'd be in the same boat. I would actually give Manila Melody another chance against her. Manila Melody's 25-1 and has came second to her twice now, I think. Yeah. And look, as Henry said, she's unfortunate to come up against Concertista twice. It's the same connections as Honeysuckle, so they might be looking to win this race for 2 years running. Yeah, for me, Manila Melody at 25-1 looks massive.
Yeah, didn't Henry say something about it? He thinks that better ground would suit Manila Melody better as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see come the time.
Alan?
Yeah, I'm probably Concertista will probably win. Just one of the bigger price stablemate of Concertista. My sister Sarah, she was fourth to Concertista Christmas. I've kind of really liked this mare, kind of coming into a bit of form. She was keeping on in the Martin Pipe last year when coming down or being brought down at the last. She's likely going to go for a handicap, but if she ends up turning up here, like she's 33s in places, could be a small each way. Look, Concertista, it's probably unoriginal, but I think she'll win.
Done.
Yeah, it's kind of cut up really this race, hasn't it? With obviously Honeysuckle going champion hurdle, Benny Didier not making it, and it's kind of made it Concertista's to lose on the surface of it. I do find it interesting that Roxana's going here instead of the stayers. Obviously, she's been running consistently very well in the top class staying hurdles over in Britain so far this season, and if anything, looks better than ever. Obviously, she did win it before, fortunately, albeit, but she clearly can do it. Probably a stronger stayer at this trip now, as I am still a bit surprised they're going for this, but I guess it's turned into the weaker option and potentially a better chance of winning. A grade one might come at Aintree, but she's still 4-1. I mean, in a race that doesn't look blessed with abundance of quality, I wouldn't even be that opposed to maybe just taking 4-1 each way about her, because you'd be probably remiss to find her out of the front three, given the way this is cut up. I mean, Dame de Compagnie, obviously the Coral Cup winner, is third in at 9s, and I don't think she's maybe up to this against the likes of a proven mare in Roxana and Concertista. So I think Concertista will win. It's Willie Mullins and mares races. It's just sometimes it's best not to avoid the glaringly obvious, but Roxana can make a race of it.
Yep. We'll quickly move on to the Boodles then. We were talking about this earlier. Calixius and Zana here. Dean, I'll let you walk us through this one.
Yeah, as I was just saying to Ryan and Alan earlier on, Dan, that it's funny that Elliot has come out and says that Zanahir is definitely going to triumph hurdle, and they were given an entry. Both of them was given an entry in the Boodles. Whenever you look at it, Calixius has won a Grade 1, so would have to carry a Grade 1 penalty in that handicap. Would I be right? I think. And like Zanahir has only won a Grade 3 and a Grade 2, so the penalty would probably be less for him in that race. I wouldn't be surprised if you seen him, if you seen Zanahir switching to here, if it meant they were, working out better for Elliot. But if you take them two out of it, Druid's Altar there won the race at Nice that the last two winners of the Boodles has won. So, or the last two Irish winners have won. So he's in there around 20 to 1, I think, from 25 to 1, 20 to 1. If you're avoiding the obvious, you want something at an outside price, that would be one I would put up.
Yeah, I've been looking at outside prices myself, and I said to you boys earlier, I think Dennis Hogan's going to win this race. He's got two absolutely lovely entries, both 25 to 1. Zafanian is a winner in the win, really. He's entered that Nace this weekend, actually. So that'll be interesting to see how he goes. Went into my tracker that time that he came third behind Palm Beach, Punchestown. Alan, you actually put me onto him. You told me to rewatch that race. Yeah, I was very impressed with that. Then the other horse Dennis Hogan has is Navi, who blitzed the field there on Monday, won by 10 lengths. And that was a huge price win as well. And look, it'll be interesting to see, does Dennis Hogan go over to ride himself? And if he does, it'll be interesting to see which one he goes on. Alan?
Yeah, I'm just the one for me. It was probably one of my first anti-post bets for Cheltenham this year. I backed Hell Red for the Triumph Hurdle after he was very impressive at Chepstow back in October. He was pulled up in a Triumph Hurdle trial at Cheltenham in November. Look, there was something amiss. He should come into this off a nice weight. I'd be one keeping a very close eye on him for Paul Nicholls.
And Dan, yourself?
Yeah, I mean, the one I put her up on my program with Willow a while ago, and that's Riviere de Tel. She was 22 to 1 back then. I think she's been quite well backed recently. She's into about 10 to 1 general. I've just been a fan of her for a while. I think she's followed a very similar path to Veneer of Charm in the fact that they both won the same race and then finished somewhat in that rated novice hurdle. And obviously that form has been boosted since by the Devil's Coachman, who's come out and won again since. Visionarian, who was second, is due, I think, to run this weekend in a handicap. I think that's good form. I like the fact she's taken on her elders. And although she was beaten, she was the favourite for that race. The fact she was favourite against more experienced and decent horses against the likes of the Devil's Coachman, I think she's held in quite high regard. I can see her running a big race in this for connections who generally thrive in this race. I mean, Gordon Elliott last year had the first, third, fourth, eighth, and ninth from 5 runners. And considering his Arsenal in the juvenile division this term, I think whatever he runs has got to be taken notice of because he's going to know where they stand. She has a great profile for the race. She's a bit of an awkward ride, I think, but the fact she's doing what she's doing, despite her somewhat immaturity, I think a strongly run race will probably help her settle a bit more. And yeah, I think she's a mare of a lot of ability, and she's got enough to win a handicap off the kind of mark she's been given.
Yep. Dean, who'd you pick on that one?
Who did I pick? Drew's Altar. Depending on where Zanahir goes, like if Zanahir back for the Triumph, wide back, like, so if Zanahir switched there or switched to this, I would be keen on taking him there as well. So, but I would Drew's Altar at the bigger price.
To be honest with you, I can see both Zanahir and Calixius still going to the Triumph.
I would hope so.
Like, why would they go for that, to be honest? Well, obviously Elliot mightn't want the top 2 in the market at it when he can win another race, maybe.
As Dan says there, like you look at Elliott's record in the race last year from 5 runners, that would tell you why you would want to go there with one on.
Yeah.
It was great.
Look, we'll move on to the last race of the day anyway. It's the 3 mile 6 furlong race. For me, Royal Beguile, if he goes, he's 11-2. Venetia Williams trains. He won a grade 2 at Haydock very, very impressively. I cannot fault that race at all. He's entered into both the Brown Advisory. I can't see Rich Ritchie taking on Monkfish with him. And he's entered into the Gold Cup. He would be the danger in the Gold Cup if he was to go. But would he go for a big hard race this time?
Rich Ritchie's long and they won that. So something I like Galvin for the National Hunt Chase. Like it's got Gordon Elliott rode all over it. Really, like Davy Russell probably would have rode him. Would have been the perfect man for it. Well, now that the amateurs are out, there's a lot to like about him. Really, like what has won at Cheltenham there recently enough as well. Not much of a price at 4-1, but it's interesting to note what Paul Nolan was saying about latest exhibition. They were trying to maybe avoid running into the likes of Monkfish and that if they go to Cheltenham. But it was interesting, Alan, I'll let you touch on that probably after this race, after we've finished this race, about the thing you were telling, or the video you sent us the other day about Tony Keenan talking. So Elliott's probably going to have a good few runners on this race. I don't think Royal Beguile will go. So yeah, I'll take Galvin at 4-1. Oh, Ryan's away. Now you're back.
Sorry, some number from Sri Lanka just rang me. That was really weird.
Did you answer?
That
No.
It might be important business.
Yeah.
Long Ross calls me 50 million for you, Ryan. You should have answered.
Yeah, I wonder how many millions were offering me.
Oh dear.
God.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Galvin train as well. To be fair, I think this is a weird race. I think earlier in the season, I mean, about a month or so ago, this looked like it could be a really good renewal. Obviously, the likes of Royal Pagaille were potentially going here. You had Coco Beach, who was touted to be here. The likes of Secret Reprieve. Yeah, it looked decent, and now it's maybe not looking so much. Obviously, Galvin has been assured of a run pretty much here as long as he stayed sound since the start of the season. So he's been put away with this race in mind all the time. I have a feeling Royal Pagaille will go for the Gold Cup. Latest exhibition, maybe 50-50 at this stage. And the others, it might just turn into a race for Galvin. I think a note on the fact that amateurs aren't riding in this race. Obviously, this can be quite a grueling test for a novice. But I think with the professionals taking over, it might make stamina less of a crucial demand as it has been in the past. Obviously, we've seen races with 3 or 4 finishers just because they've gone such a relentless pace. That might not be the case this year, and maybe experience won't be as crucial as it has been. But if you're looking for an archetypal winner of this race, Galvin is pretty much it. And 4-1, he won't be that on the day if the likes of Royal Pagaille don't turn up here. So he would be my pick at the moment.
It's just an interesting one to note. Like, I think if Galvin goes here, I think Keith Donoghue will ride over Jack Kennedy as well, because Keith's kind of got the better hands for riding over this kind of a trip. Like, you see him going hunting with Tiger Roll and things like that there, whereas Jack's far better at the shorter distance. But this is kind of like, it's really the amateur race, isn't it? And I would associate like somebody like Keith, even though he's a professional, more under that with the cross country scene and all as well.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with you on Galvin if Royal Pagaille does go to the Gold Cup.
Just a couple against the field. Pencil full of lead. Kind of caught me out the last time behind the Clad had beaten Coco Beach in a beginners in Galway when, he was staying on all the way to the line. Really impressed me on that occasion. The other one, just keep a note of, is Lord Royal, trained by Willie Mullins. This horse actually was second to Mr. Hendricks the last time at Navan. Now, that form was kind of took a bit of a blot at the weekend of Mr. Hendricks getting beaten. But the big dog who was third in that race has come out and won the Irish Grand National Trial. So it kind of got a little bit of a boost. Just 2 against the field, or One's, I think, 12s and the other's maybe 20. So just keep an eye on both of them.
Yep. That is it for the first day of Cheltenham. And we will be back in a day or two for the second day.